Hi, everyone. Welcome to the very first episode of Greater Purpose. I'm Isabel, and I am just so genuinely thankful that you are here. Whether this podcast was recommended to you, you just stumbled upon it somehow, I really don't believe it was by accident. I'm a 21-year-old girl. I'm just trying to walk with God, and I feel like we're living in a world that's constantly pulling us in every direction. And this space was born out of a really personal journey for me, one that I want to walk through with you guys. I'm not here to preach, and I don't want to pretend like I have everything figured out, because I absolutely do not. But what I do have, and I've thought on this a bit, is I have a heart that's chasing after God and a true desire to grow in my faith, just with wholeness and purpose, even on those really messy days when it's difficult. And if that's you too, if you've ever felt overwhelmed, distant from God, or just unsure how to stay grounded in a world that doesn't always make space for Him, you're in the right place. I started this podcast because, honestly, I couldn't find the space I needed when I was going through it and trying to grow closer to God. I was growing in my faith and craving that closeness, but I was also looking around and thinking, like, why is nobody talking about how hard it actually is to live this out? Like, where are all the podcasts that talk about what it's like to have really big emotions, or to just feel anxious, confused, tempted, triggered, all of that stuff, and honestly just plain lost? On top of that, like, all of those big, strong emotions, still trying to follow God through all of it. I wanted a space where we could open up the Bible and talk about what it really says, not just in theory, but in our everyday lives. What does it look like to be faithful in the mess? I wanted to talk about anxiety, distractions, emotional overwhelm, but not just in a polished, like, Sunday school type of way, but in a raw, I've been there too way, because I have been there too, and I want this to be a safe space for everyone. I've lived it, and I still live it, and I want to be real about the ups and downs of faith. This podcast exists because I know I'm not the only one who needs that space. I just want this to be a place where we can break down scripture together, reflect on real emotions, and grow, not just spiritually, but emotionally, mentally, personally too. So, what can you guys expect from me and Greater Purpose? And I am going to make this a podcast that's going to be a mix of real talk, reflection, scripture, and encouragement, because God knows we all need that. Some episodes will open up the Bible together and break down verses in a way that connects to our everyday lives, not just theology, but how it meets us in our bedrooms, our breakups, our bad days, our mental health, all of that stuff. Some episodes I think are going to be like more story-based, just me sharing what I'm learning, what I'm struggling with, and how God's meeting me in it. Other days we'll talk about things like anxiety, emotional regulation, prayer, boundaries, confidence, comparison, the stuff that doesn't always get talked about, honestly. You can expect vulnerability from me, honesty, and I want to give you all hope. My goal isn't to give you a perfect, how to. It's to walk with you openly through it all. New episodes. I think I'm going to drop a new episode weekly right now, and I hope that this becomes a little safe space in your week, a place where you can breathe, feel seen, and just be reminded that you're not alone. So that being said, I just want to share a little piece of my story so you know where all this is coming from. In March of 2024, so about a year ago now, I hit one of the lowest points of my life. Like, I knew I was at rock bottom. I had just gotten out of a really toxic, emotionally abusive relationship that left me completely wrecked, to say the least. Mentally, emotionally, spiritually, all of that. I was just a mess. I was struggling with how to cope with those feelings in a healthy way. And I just felt stuck in this spiral and didn't see a way out at all. And that's the honest truth. I felt like I was drowning in emotions that were so heavy, I didn't even know how to talk about them. But then one day, I heard the song Gratitude by Brandon Lake, and it just broke me. I was crying and praying, and I felt this tug to pick up my Jesus Calling, a devotional book that I'd been gifted probably a couple of years prior. And I still remember the entry for that day. It was March 13th, and it hit me so hard. It felt like God himself was sitting beside me, which I came to understand later on he was, and that was his tug on me. But that day I decided to make a choice, and I was going to stop running from God and start turning towards him instead. No matter how broken I felt, I was going to live it out. And I don't want you guys to think it was an overnight change, because it wasn't. It was slow, and it was shaky, and it was a very real experience. And I just started praying constantly. I read the Bible even when I didn't always understand it. I clung to the fruits of the Spirit like they were survival tools. And I'd grown up Catholic, but I'd been hurt a lot by some of the experiences in that space, and it pushed me away from my faith for a long time. I also didn't really grow up in a home where deep faith was always welcomed. If I prayed too much, it felt like I was myself doing too much. But deep inside me, I always felt like I had this tug towards Jesus. And now I know why. This is my purpose: to speak honestly, to open up a space for people who are hurting, healing, growing, trying to find God in a world that makes it really hard. If you've ever felt like no one understands what it's like to feel everything so deeply, this space is meant for you. I felt like emotions are too much and my past is too messy. And I want to talk about those things, the things that people don't talk about enough. And I want to do it through the lens of grace and truth. It's not going to be perfect. Just, I'm going to be present. And that's exactly what God calls us to do every single day. Not be perfect, but be present. And if this sounds like the kind of space that you're looking for, I'd love for you guys to follow this podcast so you get the newest updates on the episodes. And if a friend came to mind while listening, maybe send them this episode. You never know who might need this just as much as you did or as much as I did. You can also, just so you guys know, you can find more encouragement and updates through my socials. I have my mailing list linked in my Instagram for new episode reminders. And I also post short daily clips sometimes, just talking about those real everyday things. And again, I just want to say I am so thankful that you are here, and I can't wait to grow through this together. So we'll talk real soon. Remember to stay rooted in faith and growing in purpose. Again, this is Isabel, and thank you so much for being here with me today. You are so loved, and you are doing great.